We're lingering. Welcome out, friends. There's a link in the description of this video if you guys want to join in. Otherwise, you know how we do. We at the Church of Korihor, we love our first herald and we love to just listen to him just blabber on and on and on. Did we keep our Jenny Gage? Is Jenny still out there? I was thinking about Jenny today recently, especially because I started watching the shorts, and she comes up on my shorts. Usually, I'm so busy I don't even have time. So it's like lately I'm like I'm gonna see what Jenny posts on Life Take Two, and she's got good videos. You guys if you don't follow Jenny Gage, Second Herald of the Church of Korihor, you definitely got to do it. You got to do it. So she's got good stuff. I don't know if you guys know this. Jenny Gage is a nutritionist. She did aromatherapy. She's done like all kinds of different holistic modalities and stuff. In addition to basically being a trad wife influencer before her Mormon husband abandoned her and her children. And he's a real dick. He's an a-hole. And not a big surprise there. Still Mormon, apparently, I think. Anyway, so it's a curious journey that she's been on. Lots of sickness and stuff, and so when I look at when she gets really vulnerable, she doesn't make a big deal about it, the trials that she's been through, other than just talking about the trad wife trap. But you look at her personal life, Jenny knows what it's like to go through hell and keep going. And she inspires me, frankly. So I think we lucked out. I think we really lucked out with her. I'm really excited about the future of women in the Church of Korihor. As you guys know, we have purchased a new URL that directs to ours, which is weordainwomen.org. It's not fully set up yet. I've been meaning to get it done, but I've been talking about putting together a promotion campaign, a podcast guesting campaign, where we will just go out and talk to Mormon podcasts, Catholic podcasts, all kinds of people all over, atheist or unbeliever, and an unbeliever alike, to talk about, we are the church that's ordaining women because we are a godless church, and that's what it took to make that happen. Now, there are God churches that ordain women, but not that many of them, given all the orthodoxy. Yeah, it is better. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that there's something really kind of twisted about deciding that the way that we're going to empower women is by giving them the power to speak on behalf of a man. It doesn't exist up in the sky, as our dearly departed George Carlin said. I got to think about him again today. My dad went in for surgery. Some of you were here when I talked about my dad's first surgery. When my dad had his widowmaker done, that they put in 4 stents in his heart. And he had called me the night before. Well, he called me again last night and did the same thing. And he said, "We're not worrying your mother." But it turns out the doctor and I agreed to tell your mother that there's like a 15% chance that I won't survive the surgery tomorrow. We can't say for sure, but it's closer to 50. So this is the time. Okay. All right, Dad. So, well, it's not very long. I love you. Thanks for being my dad. And if you do chance to go, however briefly, to hell, could you see if George Carlin is there? And he laughed and he said, why do you want to know if George Carlin is in hell? And I said, because if George Carlin is there, that is definitely where I belong. And he laughed. And he said, you got it. And that's my promise, my Mormon dad. And then the next day he called me and my mother's like, your father won't rest until he talks to you. He's only been out of surgery for a half hour. He's still hopped up on the stuff they gave him, but he won't rest until he talks to you. So talk to him. And so my dad gets on. George Carlin is in hell. Oh, Dad. Went back under the knife today. Not really. He got the laparoscopic, and sure enough, a couple of stents. The stents had moved or loosened or whatever it is. They had to put in more. So, yeah. But bum tickers are going to happen in a world where if there were a design to our bodies, we are past the warranty, my friends. Pretty much everybody in this conversation. We are all past the warranty. Like, this is that you don't get replacement tires now with the tires you bought. You will, yeah. It's new tires from now on. And not in pairs. In sets. Not Walmart ones either. So yeah. My headphones are charging. I had thought I'd charge them up. Right? If you've got the money, well then. First you get the money. What happens then, friends? After you get the money? We have a handful of people in here. In spite of the fact that Mormon Stories is on right now. But you know what? We love you, John DeLynn, but, fuck off. We're doing our own thing. And there's only so much we can do. Oh, Zion Media is on. Oh, they're doing a premiere. I want to show you guys some things. Hopefully it doesn't sound weird because I have my speakers on instead of my headphones. So you guys tell me if it sounds bad. We'll abandon this. I'm just going to show you guys some of the hate watches I do. I don't know if you guys do hate watches as much as I do. But I work from home. I work from in here. Like, this is where my jobs all are. Legal over there, video over here. And share screen. While I'm working, if I'm not editing video, I like to listen to what the Mormons are doing just to have it good, just to have more information about what's going on. Mormon discussion of a guy who went through. No, that's Mormon Stories, isn't it? Oh, it is Mormon Discussion. I thought it was, and then I don't know why my brain read Mormon Stories. Yeah, no, I had that guy on my show. His name is Steve. Steve? What am I talking about? Yeah, anyway. Not Steve. What am I talking about? I had him on my show. Hold on. Okay, so yeah. So this is Mormon Discussion.
I love his study, but my evaluation of it was not accurate.
Nieves.
At the bottom,
Nice guy.
You'll see a meta-analysis, which is a study of.
I'm going to go through conversion therapy. The other one that I was talking about here. Where did you go? Sanders speaks for Americans. I do not make political endorsements. Zion Media is these guys. I don't know if you guys watch.
So when a client comes to us with an ask to launch an influencer marketing campaign, the process is pretty streamlined. So what we'll do, Angel, whose name's Angela, that her and I together have been working on how do we become one. I mean, it's so much so that literally I'll think something at this point and she'll know it. And she'll be like, hey, I was, because I'll be thinking, I wonder what we're going to have for dinner tonight. And then I'll get a text, hey, this is what we're having for dinner tonight. And it's been this beautiful thing that's transpired over the past 4 years of our marriage that we intentionally.
This guy, Shane, okay, he calls himself the Mormon Wolf of Wall Street. He went to prison for 5 years for pulling basically a real estate Ponzi scheme here in Salt Lake. And now he's like a hero. You explain to me. Don't actually. I understand full well. But it's funny because like he sees miracles everywhere and it's kind of endearing because it's like I mean, it actually is like becoming like a child listening to like I just knew everything. Like they had this thing the other day. I want to say it was yesterday, where he and the other guy, like apparently one of these other guys, not maybe it was this guy David. He says he's like we work in solar now. Yeah, big surprise there. And he's like, we were at a nice hotel, and we were walking out, and Shane says to me, "Those guys over there, they're in solar." He just knew because the spirit told him they're in solar. Go start a conversation with them because we can spread the gospel using business. And he's like, so I went over there and I just eavesdropped for a minute. I didn't feel like it. And he's like, I came back and he's like, and I was like, I don't know if they do work in solar or not, but it didn't sound like there was any in to go in to talk to them. He's like, so no, I didn't have an opportunity to talk to them. And so he's like, but, and so he says, and so we walked out the front door, and then we're going to get to the car, and Shane says, I have to do this. The spirit's moving. And he goes and talks to these guys. Did they join the church? No. Are they going to join the church? Probably not. Who knows? Who knows that they probably already are Mormons? But then he's like, did they work in solar? No. They were a bunch of guys working in Bitcoin. What do you need for Bitcoin? Energy. Where do you get energy from? Russia. The sun. And that's what the spirit was really telling them. Good God. These guys, but this is the group that Chief Mitiga is connected up with. Oh, I don't know how many of you have seen this yet. Okay. We got Kendall over here. We'll bring up Kendall here in a second. I didn't know he was in here already. Chief Mitiga. Day before yesterday, I was talking to Steve Pinecker on chat, and he says, "Did you see that Chief Mitiga is the president of the Church of Christ now?" I said, "What? No." I'm like, "The Church of Jesus Christ. He got baptized in the Church of Jesus Christ." And I'm like, "Everybody knows that." And he's like, "No, the Church of Christ." I said, "Which Church of Christ?" He says, "I don't know." I'm like going through, I'm like, okay, did the Temple Lot Mormons just lose their freaking mind? I mean, the Temple Lot Mormons, I'm not going to be gentle about this. The Temple Lot Mormons, they're nuttier than normal Mormons, like a lot nuttier than normal Mormons. But these nuttier than normal Mormons, even they wouldn't make Mitiga the president. He has no qualifications for this. But then supposedly, as all these churches do, they say they were the one founded by Joseph Smith, who definitely had about the same kind of qualifications that Mitiga does. So there you go. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. And so I went and I looked on their website, nada. I went and I looked at there's the Churches of Christ, which are a different Mormon conglomerate of independent, non-coordinated, discombobulated Mormon churches, small Mormon congregations not associated with the Community of Christ or with the LDS Church, which you're not supposed to call LDS anymore. LDS, 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 LDS. Mormon, 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 Mormon. Victory for Satan, Satan. And I went and looked at like a half a dozen of these websites. No mention of it anywhere. Go back to Steve's chat and this video where Mitiga did say in this video, I have just been named president of the Church of Christ, and we're bringing in all the branches. And I'm like, and I said to Steve, I said, am I the last fucker to get excommunicated for frickin' apostasy? I mean, seriously. And I went back and I clicked on this video that he had sent to me, and lo and behold, Mitiga's taking it down. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Zion Media, they're the ones. They are the ones. And it was so funny when they called him out, and they're like, because he had this big blow up where he like started calling out a whole bunch of Mormon content makers, and it was so good. It was so good. Let's bring Kendall up. We got Kendall in this.
Yo, what's up?
What's up? I see that you have a godless flag hanging on your wall from some godless whore country that been currently ruled by a despot.
Yeah, most of that is true. Although I think it's still officially a Catholic country. You cannot be the president unless you are baptized Catholic.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. That's even grosser.
But, godless and religion, I mean, come on, you got to see there's a correlation there, too. Just because we're honest about our godlessness doesn't mean they are.
Factual. Oh, my gosh, Joey, what are you doing over there? The Lamanite chief. Oh, my gosh. You guys have all seen by now my interview with Anton Troyer. Did you see my video with Anton Troyer, Kendall?
I did not, no.
God did this, man. It was so good. In which I basically asked him, he is Ojibwe, and it's pretty good. As a matter of fact, he's my most recent interview. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Church for Atheists, I have been pretty bad about new episodes because I've been keeping busy with work. But this guy, that's me.
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
This guy here. So I just wanted to, I've talked to my people here at the Church of Korihor about you, but I just wanted to give you a quick introduction. And anyways, this guy, Anton Troyer, he is a professor of Ojibwe at Bemidji State University in Minnesota. And he is one of the people who was in charge of a project to record with all the elders of the Ojibwe Nation, which Chief Mitiga is claims to be a part of, and I have no reason to believe he isn't. Though the same group that Chief Mitiga claims that their birch scrolls they launched just last week, or that they canonized last week, into what I can't say. As far as I know, Church of Jesus Christ doesn't canonize any of this. I don't know who this guy thinks he is. But anyways, I asked him, I said, do you know of any birch scrolls that contain any writing similar to the Book of Mormon? And he's like, I don't know all the contents of the Book of Mormon. I don't know most of the Book of Mormon, he says, but I can tell you right now, no. Birch scrolls just contain instructions on how to perform a ceremony. They don't contain any kind of historical record or anything like that. He's like, so if he claims he has birch scrolls that have some kind of historical record, that there isn't really even a way that that's possibly true. And so I'm like, okay. He's like, we do have birch scrolls that we keep, he's like, but they have nothing to do with anything like that. And I asked him, I said, as far as you are aware, is there any possible way that the ancestors of the Ojibwe or any other indigenous peoples to these continents came from the Middle East anytime around 600 BCE? And he said no.
Shocker. Are you kidding me? What an upset.
He was a really good interview, though. I didn't talk to him about Mitiga until like the last 10 minutes of an hour-long interview. And the rest of the time I talked to him I said, let's talk about indigenous ceremonies and how we can learn at the Church of Korihor some good ideas on how to do our own rituals, our own sacraments as a godless church. And he's like, oh, that's cool. That's an interesting thought. And we had a really good conversation, and he had some good input. So anyways.
So where were you, Joe, when you found out the church changed the introduction of the Book of Mormon because of the DNA evidence?
Where was I? Because of the DNA evidence? That was wasn't that like 20 years ago?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
I do remember. I don't remember when it was. I remember that it was a long time ago. I want to say I was on my mission when that happened. No, it would have to be when I got home. I may have already stopped practice. Was it in the 2000s?
I believe it was 2006 is when it was changed. Yeah, I got
Oh,
home from my mission that year. That's why I remember.
I think I learned about it on a podcast. I want to say I heard it on Mormon Stories or something. Was Mormon Stories not around already in 2006? Didn't John start that in like 2001 or something?
Yeah, it's been around forever. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember seeing that and being like, oh, well, it just says among, that's not a big change. They're just learning about DNA, like we're not experts in DNA. So there's still the Lamanites. There's still blood there.
Yeah.
But now we know that there's like zero blood. It's like totally not even a thing now, right?
Yeah. I remember when the essay came out, when the church essays came out, and every Mormon I told about believed I was making it up. I'm like, this is at LDS.org. You go and look it up. Yeah, I'll show it to you right now if you want. Like the race and the priesthood thing and all those, the four first visions and so forth. They did a pretty clever job at hiding it, at publishing it so that they could defy all of us while also keeping it totally hidden from their own membership. That's when you knew the wool was fully covering, right?
Well, it took me a little bit longer. I just know that whenever we would talk about Native Americans or like who's the Echo Hawk guy in the church, like whenever anything Native American related would come up, it would always just be like, oh, they're the Lamanites and the Book of Mormon is a record of their people and we got to share it with them and it's so important culturally. And now it's like we don't talk about it. It's not a thing. And like even the church, what was the recent thing where they literally on the church website quoted David Bakaboy saying that like it's not even historical. Like even the church itself is going there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I kind of knew it would eventually have to go that way. I mean, there's only so long they can pull that con. And yeah, I mean, you would have, as a matter of fact, I'm a little surprised it took as long as it did, if anything. I'm surprised it took as long as it did. But I remember when that essay came out and they were defending the bottleneck argument, basically, that, that when Christ, was crucified, all of the destruction, the volcanic activity and all of this meant that there were so many people who passed away that, the Lamanites included people who weren't descendants of Laman and Lemuel and or the sons of Ishmael, etc. And so the included all these other groups, and so basically that the lineage, the DNA lineage, would only exist in a small group within the group of the modern age, and so the Lamanites are honorary Lamanites who could have very well.
I didn't know this. What about Doctrine and Covenants 49, the prophecy about the Lamanites shall blossom as a rose in the last days? What's that about now?
Yeah, that's about Lamanites who aren't descendants of Laman and Lemuel.
Oh my gosh, what?
And it was so I asked, and I asked Anton, I'm like, so Anton Troyer, Dr. Troyer, and I call him that to his face, so I'll call him that here, Dr. Troyer. And I said, let me ask you this. The Book of Mormon says that the Lamanites, who are indigenous Americans, had a curse of darkness placed upon them to make them dark and loathsome, so they would not be tempting to the Nephites, their cousins. And he goes, okay. I said, now as a man who is Jewish on your father's side, and Ojibwe, indigenous man, and a native man on your mother's side, and come from these other heritages, these not traditional white Protestant heritage that many Americans are, how does that make you feel? And to think that your ancestors are being labeled as being cursed and to be dark and loathsome, so they would not be appealing, in spite of the fact that if you look at any Instagram account on the world, you will see, right now, you will see that people find the shade of that the shade of a person's skin that is indigenous to these continents to be very appealing. But okay, whatever. And he said in native cultures, most native culture, but especially in the Ojibwe, among the Ojibwe, we have a saying: "He who knows teaches, and he who does not know should be silent." And he said, any person who thinks that the color of my skin makes me less intelligent, or makes me less worthy, or makes me less attractive, scientifically is wrong. And if you scientifically are wrong, you should not speak. And I said, that, as an atheist, is the best answer I think I've ever heard to anything. And I'm like, so I respect that. And I threw him a curveball. I said, let me ask you this. I said, do you know if there are atheists, if there are like communities for atheists among native people? And he like stopped and he threw me a look, and he goes, gosh, I never even considered that. He's like, well, you'd think there has to be. He's like, there's no requirement to do the ceremonies or to believe any of the ancient traditions of the Ojibwe people to be a part of the community. He's like, so you would think there must be. He's like, I just don't know that I've ever run into them. I'm like, okay, just curious. Maybe we need to reach out. Not that we're out to convert. I said, not that we're out to convert native people. We're not really desperately out to convert anyone. We're pretty easygoing, just being ourselves. So it's been pretty good. How's the learnedempowerment.com going there, Kendall?
Well, I've got how many videos since I relaunched? 3 videos up. I've been doing it every Friday. There is a 81% chance that I'm going to miss this Friday, the last 2 weeks, and including right now, I am preparing some court documents that I have to submit, going back to court over stuff with my son, fighting for him. So not super well, but we've relaunched. We're doing some stuff. Megan is going to come on the show. Do you know the question I ask everyone that comes on my show?
No, I'm sure you told me.
Yeah, you and Coach both have a standing invite. I need to send you guys messages about this, but the question I ask everyone, this is what my whole channel's about, is come on, and the answer that you'll be teaching the world about is the following. What is a idea, concept, skill that not enough people know about, that if more people did know about it, it would empower people for a better, thriving life, or change the world?
Nice.
So kind of like the Pareto principle, like the smallest thing that would make the biggest difference. But I'm going to press you that like it can't be obvious or trite or super well known. Like you have to really dig and be like, a lot of people don't know this or realize the impact of this.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. When is Megan going on? I definitely got to catch that. I got to join up in time for that.
Yeah, she reached out yesterday. I haven't emailed her back, but I hope it's in the next 2 weeks.
The last couple of weeks, she is it next Friday? Next Saturday, she's doing Generous Conference while we're doing General Conference up here. And I've decided I'm going to submit to that. I don't know if you're planning to submit a talk for Generous Conference, but
yeah, I want to do live. How's live going to work? Do you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I thought I would go live too. Maybe I will do that, but I think that for her stress level, it would probably be easier if she had more that were recorded. I mean, that's what it seems to be. So I'm going to pre-record mine, but no, I do think that live is fun, and I like hanging out with Megan and her crew. She has good people over that third verse. She is also dealing with court, Lisa. You're talking about Megan? Jesus, is everybody going to court but me? Actually, I'm probably going to be soon too. What is this weird phase we are in right now? And is this just like a phase of life? Is this just the natural This is like what they should have put in the meaning. Monty Python's The Meaning of Life: suing each other.
Well, in my case, I was told to go to court sooner than later. My ex-wife just got remarried, and so that's why a lot of things that like were working now, she's like, no, we're not doing it this way. You have to do this and this and this. And so anyway, the sooner we get it resolved, then we can go back to a new normal. So it's just life. It's just part of life.
It's weird, right? It's like I think it's weird because I remember when I first I started collecting answers once. I had this form, like just a Google form on my website back when I was blogging at josephrollins.com. Now defunct, don't go looking for it. And I put this thing up about asking divorcees, Mormon divorcees, how many of them what the primary reason for their divorce was, and how many of them it was had to do with differences over the church, how many of them had to do with things they learned about the church and one spouse could accept it and one the other spouse couldn't. And there were lots of interesting things there. And I found that far and away people who divorced, surprisingly, they stayed together for a long time, usually after one spouse left the church, and it wasn't the primary reason why they split up. It turns out their split came over totally normal things, parenting or money problems or infidelity or something else. And so, or just but the thing that was surprising to me is I had asked, how many of you answer this? I mean, your feelings about your spouse since you left. Do you find that your ex, do you hate them? Do you like them? Do you feel affection for them? And I was startled at how many responses were, I'm still as much in love with my ex as I ever was while I was married to them.
Whoa, that surprises me too.
Right? Yes. And it was like, I was like, wow. And it was a little bit heartbreaking because it was like a lot of people, they're in love with, they're still in love with their ex. They just can't live with them, can't handle them anymore. It's just like, we're grown too far apart. It's just becoming impractical to be married to each other. It's surprising.
Wow, no, I stayed married because of obligation related to the church. I don't know how much of my story but like we got married because the church wouldn't hire me full time unless I was married. I was an institute teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And shortly after, like literally days into the marriage, anyway, I can't go too much into it, honestly, but things were not at all like when we had dated. Let's just say, but wow. I was committed. I was like, no, we don't believe in divorce. We're going to make this work. And we did it 4 years, but I was depressed, and it actually had nothing to do with the church that we got divorced. She left the church before I did. That was actually one of the justifications at the time. It's like, oh, she left the church and I'm still righteous in the church. I made the right decision. But yeah, now it's kind of flip-flopped the other way. Now she's like, oh, our kid can get baptized. It's fine. And I'm like, do you not know what Elder Bednar has said when you commit to baptism, all the things you promised to do? Like, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
But,
oh my gosh.
That's why we're going to court, is she won't talk to me about a whole bunch of issues.
Wow. That sucks, man. Good luck with that.
But yeah, going back to your earlier question, I went to an Education Week class right after I got divorced, and they listed the top 10 reasons why members of the church get divorced. And number 9 or 10 was like differences in like living the gospel. Number 1 was finances. I forget what number 2 was, but the one that stood out to me was number 3 was emotional abuse.
Wow.
And I can't comment further on that, even though in private I would love to go into detail about why that one stood out to me.
Right. It's a, it's interesting to me. It's like, how many people, one of the toxic male things, and of course, women are not the only ones who get emotionally abused in relationships, obviously, right? We wouldn't expect that to be true. But it is very commonplace for women to be victims of emotional abuse in relationships, especially with men. And but it's like I feel like we assume that our spouses don't think that they're being abused. So we don't ask. And so it's like, okay. So like I didn't ask until my wife started going to CODA meetings, that's Codependence Anonymous. And and she would explain to me like, oh, well, we talk about relationships with narcissists and blah 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 blah. And it wasn't until then that I wound up asking her. I'm like, I'm just going to ask you point blank, and I would love if you would just be honest with me. Do you feel that you are married to a narcissist right now? Like, is that me? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, I can take it. And I'm like, but dear God, I hope nobody thinks of me as a narcissist. And I remember asking one of my other partners, I'm like, how would you know if you are a narcissist? Like how, and they said, well, there's a questionnaire you can fill out. And as I was filling it, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm found it. I'm looking. I'm going to fill it out right now." And they're like, "So first of all, the fact that you are curious if it could be a narcissist, a covert narcissist, even, is a pretty good indicator you're probably not, because a narcissist wouldn't."
Yep. The people who are narcissists, it does not even enter their brain that it's possible. Absolutely not. They're such a good person. Look at all this good that I do. There's no chance.
Divas, I'm glad to see you in my chat, sir. You are welcome here anytime. We got Mormon News Roundup, you guys. I mean, that's not every day. Or is it? Is it, Divas? So good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. She's at a CODA meeting right now, but she's been loving it, and she's been taking my kids to it. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. All right, do I have to have this conversation with everybody? Is Daddy a narcissist? Do you think Daddy's a narcissist? Because I was raised by a narcissist, and so it was like, it's a legit concern of mine. But I'm gonna work while we're talking because I got an emergency request here, but it's just an emergency email.
No, I sincerely believe anyone who has been touched by certain religions, the LDS religion being tops among them, narcissism is seriously something we should know more about. We should, check ourselves, check our deconstruction, check our psychological health. It is my sincere belief that the LDS Church cultivates narcissism and promotes narcissism. I mean, look at the leadership and their narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah. I mean, ecclesiastical abuse, I think, really is just a form of narcissistic abuse. And narcissists excel in anything with a corporate ladder. And there is no corporate ladder more corporatized ladderish than the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, especially these days. I mean, this is, like you say, this is a system where particularly men who prefer the company of other men, but particularly who are narcissistic, but particularly in a competitive environment. It's like American Psycho in there, right? That's really that's how this all works. So the scene in American Psycho where they all like compare, where they're sitting there comparing business cards and like the card stock the business card, and it's like this demonstration of how petty a person could possibly be. That's how I see the church's leadership, even before it was corporatized.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misquoted the study. I found the study. This is statistics by an LDS researcher right after I got divorced, literally the month after. Do you want this research in order now? I got the right citation. Okay. So number one reason cited, self-report by couples, all members of the church, this study is, number one is emotional abuse.
And money.
Number two, and that's 49%. 49% of people. Number two is infidelity. Do you want to guess a percentage, or do you want me to just tell you?
Tell me.
48%. Number three reason. Why'd you get divorced? Number three reason, pornography.
And 49% is emotional abuse, and 48% is infidelity. Number three is who gives a fuck? There, you got it right there.
Oh no! I mean, I've only left the church 2 years ago, and I was in the elders quorum presidency, and we would have weekly meetings. Anyone who confessed to pornography, the bishop would make them go to these classes or support group meetings every week. And oh my gosh,
really?
Joe, a more group of depressed, put upon men you cannot find.
Ugh, I can't even imagine. I think I probably can. I just don't want to. What a disgusting thing. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
the
I
amount
remember
of shame and guilt. I mean, you were talking about that in your sermon. Shame is such a controlling thing that the church uses. It was pathetic.
You know, my brother started. My brother had dyslexia. My younger brother, and so while I was, you know, the Peter Priesthood brother who was like always giving talks in church and, you know, always, you know, talking to girls about spiritual issues and, you know, to get them to go out with me and, you know, and like expounding the scriptures and asked to give special presentations in seminary, called to be a Sunday school teacher before my mission. That guy, ick, right? You imagine ick with an extra generous dollop of ick, Mormon boy. That was this Mormon boy right here. Okay. Meanwhile, my brother couldn't even read the scriptures in church and toxic church that we belonged to. Their solution was he should do it more. So they would call on him more to read. And he's like the letters and words mix up when I read. And he got so put off by it. That he stopped, you know, functioning at school and at church. And, you know, of course, church wasn't the only place. You know, he was so rejected. He felt so rejected that the only place he could find friends really was among, you know, kids who were cast off from society. And in Mesa, that was the kids who were doing meth. So 13 years old, it does his first hit, addict from that time on. And, you know, he eventually, he was in his 20s, early 20s. I was already married, home from my mission, atheist, married, had a kid already, had another kid on the way when he came to my parents and said, you know, I have a problem. I don't know how you guys haven't noticed all these years. And he's like, I need help. And so he got clean. But it was a long ass process of quitting. I mean, that's a hard one to kick, especially after a decade, off and on and off and on and off. And you know, when they moved up here to Utah, my brother was living with my parents, and he went to, you know, the church. My dad's like, you know, the church, they spent a lot of money on rehab. And my dad's like, you know, maybe we should take advantage of some more resources that we already pay for. So maybe it's time you went back to church. And so they gave the church a try, the church's 12-step program. And my dad went in with him, with my brother, to be supportive to 12-step meetings with the church. And that is where my poor father had a serious crisis of faith, not just in the church, but in 12-step programs, which, by the way, have a bad history. They're just, you know, they're doing the best that they know how. And it's a difficult thing. But the truth of the matter is they don't work as often as people think they do. And but they go there, and he says, he's sitting there. He's like, Joe, he's like, you know how it is when you leave the church, Mormons suddenly want to be extra honest with you. when there aren't other Mormons around. My dad says to me, he says, you know, Joe, to see like some young man, a teenager, sitting in a room with your son who is addicted to meth, and sit there, and he's like, and then sitting there next to some bishop or ex-bishop, and or some high counselor, breaking down, crying about how they can't give up the porn, and he's like, and thinking, and you look around, and you realize, what do these Mormons think addiction is? I'm like, yup, that's about.
Honestly, it's so distorted and perverted and messed up. Like, seriously, I was one of those that, like, I took the law of chastity so seriously that, like, even touching the skin of another girl was like, oh, is God okay with this? Am I good? Did I just sin? What are my thoughts like? And then like they give you no preparation for actual marriage, and then they expect you to have all these kids. It's so messed up. It is so crazy to put all this shame and pressure on something that is a natural, good thing. It's the most natural thing. It's literally evolutionarily the end of our creation is to do this, and we shame it, and people are depressed. I mean, that's why we have all this depression in Utah, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and that plus they have depression, and it goes untreated because there's so much stigma around medicating for depression. Yeah. You know, for medicating for anything. There's a good question Hyde asks is, what does the church call their 12-step program? I wasn't aware that I don't think that there is a name for it. Is there?
Yeah, I'm not aware.
Oh, I Googled it, and the church just says the 12 steps are da 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 da. They have a page just dedicated to the 12 steps. Wouldn't Bill just be so proud to know that the church just stole his 12 steps and just calls it their thing?
Okay, so real quick, so pornography was number 3. Number 4 reason is spouse left, 23%, grew apart, 22%. Addiction, 18%, finances, 17%, physical abuse, 17%, mental health concerns, 14%, parental differences, 14%, and Facebook, 3%.
Facebook.
But yeah, I guess they don't even list testimony and leaving the church concerns. I wonder, having done studies myself and working with the church's department for publishing, that if they just took that out, or that variable wasn't even allowed on the survey. I wonder.
It got correlated out, or yeah, is that what they call it? Correlation?
Yeah, maybe.
Yep. Sounds about right. That sounds about right. They just call it addiction recovery program. Yeah, so I've told this story before, so sorry for people who are sick of hearing this story over and over again. When I got my letter, you guys have seen the letter, right? Everyone's seen the letter. My stake president came to my office and tried to convince me. He said I don't have anything to excommunicate you for. So at this point, I was basically gunning. We had an agreement. I was gunning for excommunication. And I said, well, excommunicate me for apostasy. And he's like, well, you can't become, he's like, you can't be kicked out for apostasy unless you join another church. And I went, that's not true. I mean, you know about the September 6th, right? And he's like, the what? I'm like, don't worry, man. Don't worry about it. I'm like, trust me. The main thing that apostasy gets applied for is people who oppose the church. I said, but I think you can get kicked out for joining another church, hence the Church of Korihor. And so now these many years, and he but he says, oh, okay, so you want to be excommunicated for apostasy? I'm like, yeah. And I said, or what? And he said, well, hear me out. Are you addicted to pornography? And I was like, what? And he's like, are you addicted? I said, no. I said, I didn't have to say, I didn't feel any need to start a conversation with this man. I barely know. This is the second conversation I've had with this man in my life. And but I didn't have any reason to start a conversation about A, that's not a thing, and B, if it was, honestly, I've seen so many of the kinds of it. I just don't think I can see enough of it to qualify. That's an addiction. And so I said, well, yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, oh, I said, do you think the church will kick people out, excommunicate people for being addicted to pornography? And he says, oh yeah, it's adultery. I said, oh man, don't let that get around. You'll be kicking people out of the Mormon church all day long. And he's like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, you think these Mormons ain't looking at porn? They're all looking at it. And he's like, no. I'm like, they all are looking at it.
Oh yeah, when I was again in the elders quorum, the bishop told me like 40% of active men are addicted to pornography.
And the other 60% are liars. We also have a problem with lying to your priesthood.
Yeah, that's actually, so after I left the church, the first person I told, because I could tell on Facebook that they had already left, that's one of the first things he said is like, the book of Abraham is what got me out. But then the thing that made me convinced that it was the right decision was I realized my very last worthiness interview, when this topic came up, I realized the church pressures you to lie. Because if you're honest, you have to go through all this stuff that's like not helpful and worth it and just makes everything worse. And so you just say, oh yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And everyone's good, even though like a lot of people know that that's not true. And you're lying just to like, you know, go along to get along type thing.
Wow. Yep. That's about the size of it. And it's amazing because I remember more than once like having this conversation with this bishop, you know, who basically sent me to be excommunicated. And you know, the whole start of that I told it on Diva's show, I think. I definitely went into it in detail in Gene Judson's program. About how the start of my excommunication started because they found out basically that my wife and I have an open marriage, and she had just gone through the temple, and you know, and you know, she got her recommend taken away after she confessed to the bishop some of the things she'd done since she went through the temple and got her endowment taken out, because she hadn't, the first 10 years of our marriage, she hadn't done that. And almost 10 years, anyways, 7, 8 years. And I was like, Molly, why did you tell him that for? And she's like, well, I wanted to make sure that I was all right with the word. I'm like, honey, that is like excommunicable offenses. She's like, no. I'm like, yeah, if you were a man, anyways. I mean, they'll excommunicate anybody, but you're playing priesthood roulette right now. And she's like, I want to be good with God. I'm like, oh, that is adorable. That is just, I mean, that is sweet as can be. And I said, so I had told her, I said, look, just you go in, you tell the bishop that your husband makes you do this, and you know, like, is a pervert. And she's like, what? I'm like, you tell him that you feel you have to do it to keep your marriage together. And she's like, that's not going to work. I said, at this point, you don't have anything to lose. She's like, fair enough. And so she goes in and told the bishop that, and he gave her back a recommend.
Huh.
And he's like, but I want your husband to come in and seem and face me face to face. And he apparently thought I wouldn't do it. I did. And then, you know, they went to excommunicate me, but I wasn't the one who had additional partners at that time. And so they couldn't excommunicate me for adultery. So I was like, I'm like, boy, are you guys in a freaking pickle or what? And so I said, so yeah, you guys can kick me out for apostasy, and I'll give you the reasons why. And then I said, here it is, and I said, here are all the things I will say that are, apostasy according to the doctrine of the church. And I went down the list. Joseph Smith was a pervert and a liar and a con man, and he was from the very beginning. These are the, polygamy was evil, and it involved the systematic abuse and of multiple women and girls, including some who were as young as 12 years old. And I just went down the list. And it was like, if you're going to excommunicate me for telling the truth about that. And sure enough, they deliberated for about 20, 30 minutes, somewhere in there, and came back. I came back in, and they read to me my stake president. Again, I don't know from Adam Zodox, as my Mormon grandmother used to say. Reads to me and says, they read to me the declaration by the church after the martyrdom of Hiram and Joseph. And that was it. That was the end of it. And you've been excommunicated from the church. And then I got a letter 2 days later, and I framed it and put it on the wall. So
I'm glad you're proud of that process. You've convinced both me and Colt to not do anything. They have to come after us, and we're going out the honorable way, excommunication. So you're an inspiration, okay, Joe.
Oh, now let's be clear what I'm encouraging people to do. I'm encouraging people to join the Church of Korihor and send them your certificate. Lead into the excommunication. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go courting them, because right now, what's pissing me off, the thing is, I would have done it differently if I were still technically a member of record today. And I'll tell you why. It's because I found out that the church in many cases now is not honoring resignations process through quitmormon.org. Yeah.
That's no bueno.
Yeah. So basically, they are now back to a place where they are just flat out in violation of court order, just, in at least some cases, refusing to let people leave the church. And so at this point, you basically, to get kicked out, you might have to lean into excommunication. I said, if I were still a member of the church, I would go gunning for an excommunication just to stand on the principle of the matter. So, that was the initial, because I've talked about starting the Church of Korihor for like a decade, but that was the point where in December of last year, I told Molly, I said, I have to do it now, because now that I know that they're doing this, because I found that out in December. And I'm like, I feel like I have to do it now. And she's like, get to it, do it. And she was very supportive. And so I asked some friends. And the first person I contacted was Jenny Gage. And I said, so here's the deal. Boom, 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 boom. And I need a board of directors for the new Church of Korihor. And she answered me back by text right away and said, I'm in, let's go. And so, and then of course, I'm very grateful for my friends, Nathan and David, who were the other two who agreed. And by the laws of the state of Utah, and hence the Internal Revenue Service, that's all you have to do to start a church. And so we did that and pay $89, which my friend David was gracious enough to lend to me, because I was out of money at that point. So yeah, it was so we are on an interesting journey here at the Church of Korihor. Yeah. So Joey says excommunication parties as a sacrament. I do, technically that's what our initiation, we don't do baptism, right? Our initiation rite is called the Oath of Reason. And you say the Oath of Reason in the presence of a herald who accepts you into the congregation. If you are already a contributor to the Church of Korihor on our website, and you receive a certificate in your email with a PDF file, and all you have to do is fill out on the form when you apply to take the Oath of Reason that you want to, where you want a copy of the certificate mailed to, and we will print out right here, print out a PDF and send it off to your ecclesiastical leaders. And that says very plainly, as a matter of fact, I'll show you one of mine. I'll show you mine. Let's see if I can find it here on my hard drive. Certificate. Oh, I have it here somewhere. I'm probably on my downloads. Certificate. Of course. Anyways, it says this person has taken the following oath of reason, and then it shows the oath of reason. It's a very snazzy looking certificate. It looks very official, very nice, and it has my signature on it. And basically, it's me certifying I took this person's oath of reason. Take them off your records. They're not a member of your church. They're a Korahor. Even the last line says they are a Korahor to their last breath. Amen.
Hallelujah. Okay, well, I got to get back to these. I have a meeting with my lawyer in about half an hour.
Okay, get after that. It's good to see you, Kendall.
Okay, love you, Joe. You do the Lord's true work.
That's right, the Dark Lord.
Yeah. Okay, see ya.
See it. Good man, Kendall. Unless he's not, in which case, screw that guy. Just doing some work. You guys, talk amongst yourselves. I'll just continue talking to you while I do emergency work with clients who pay me, expect me to do work for them. That's a thing that happens in the world. So yeah. Joey, if you want to commit apostasy, man, you just tell me. If anybody out there wants to commit an act of apostasy without joining the Church of Korahor, just going out in public against the church, and just wants to send something to your ecclesiastical leaders saying, "This is me committing apostasy," you just pass the word, and I will put you up on this pulpit, and I will let you preach a godless sermon, and you can tell everybody exactly what you think. It is one of the values of the Church of Korahor, is sacrilege and blasphemy. If you want to blaspheme against the Holy Ghost, son, friend, non-binary person, come on up. I will put you up and put you on blast. And you can get up here and tell the whole world how your church is not true. And we will send that. I will send that to them. We'll make a big song and dance of it. We'll make a big show about this person is an apostate. I, Exmo Joe, have been excommunicated for apostasy. Do I need to show you the letter? I have been excommunicated for apostasy, but this person is apostate to the max. I mean, I think I'm offended at how apostate this vile sinner is. Offensive. And then we will send it to your bishop and to your stake president, and watch as the demands for your court of love come just rolling right in. Let's make sure that I am putting the right video into the right newsletter. Respond to the clients. Sure can. Boom, boom, boom. Paste. Publish. Yes, I like it. Looks good. Beautiful. Da-da-da. Testimonial. And continue. And sorry, guys. This is just going to take a quick second. The fleshes to flashes. Where's that from? Who out there who are my cinephiles? Fleshes to flashes. Joey, you got godless sermons? You holding out on me? You know I'm looking for people to come in here and give us some godless sermons, so I don't wind up doing it every week. People do get sick of looking at my face eventually. Let's see here. Is it true? I have more than one. I have it on testimony from more than one person that waking up next to my face is like the highlight of their existence. Just kidding. That's a lie. That's a lie. It's just a thing I say to make myself feel better. All right. Sorry. We're getting this workout. So click on the preview and check. Click the button. Does it work? Is the video loading? Yes, it is. And oh, I caught a mistake. I changed this and it didn't change. Let's put new testimonial. Testimonial video. Aw. You guys know I still work as a video producer, even though I gave up on my dream of becoming a filmmaker, although I didn't really, as people who were here for my rambling, lingering, longering on Sunday know, I still dick around with filmmaking. Beg your pardon, filmmaking. Just now I'm doing more AI filmmaking stuff because I have all the tools that I use for the Church of Korihor. I use for other stuff too. I can show you guys some cool stuff. And there was a lot of interest expressed in that. And in fact, maybe I'll show that up here. I'll show you guys some of the cool things I've been doing with AI film. What's that? Yes, was that the only change? Yeah, that looks good. Send. Woo! Fastest newsletter send in the West. All right. Who wants to see some AI film? Some of you, I don't know how many of you were here on Sunday while we were lingering, and I was talking about Kirtland. Kirtland is a series, a television series that I wanted to get made while I was still infatuated with believing that I could raise millions of dollars to make movies, and that somebody was going to take an interest in this because there was a lot of interest in Mormon history, most of all among people who've never been Mormon. That is gross. Just kidding. Unless the sermons are good. See, here's the thing. My sermons were good when I preached for God. The Mormons don't realize what they lost when they excommunicated me, because my sermons are good. You know, today's Wednesday service not included. I was glad I finally got that out of my system, but mainly it was getting it out of my system about this freaking scams, man. I hate being scammed. All right. I know that's like a weird thing to just say. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this up. I posted this on Facebook. But I had one of the things that I did was to make a kind of Pixar-ish version of Emma Smith sitting at a table. Why is this loading that version of the website? I don't want that. Of Emma Smith sitting at a table writing a letter and what that would look like. Let me in. Thank you. Sometimes it's so weird. But AI, the AI tools are coming out with so many cool new things lately. And it's accelerating at such a pace that I seriously think by the end of the year, I could very feasibly be making like whole episodes of like a TV series kind of thing. So I wanted to show some of the things I've made. I got it. Using Kling. Okay, let me pull up a screen. We're going to share screen. Entire screen. Yeah, go ahead and share that. Okay. Okay, so you guys should be seeing a screen here. This is, these are some of my generations of materials here. And this is an image of Emma Smith sitting at her desk. I have her here with just one ringlet, downside of her face. The reality is that she probably wore several ringlets, but just to make it simple, I made it one. And here's another version basically of the same thing. So I make the, I used an AI. I used Leonardo AI to make the image. Then, it never gets it exactly right. So I throw it into Photoshop and I change features here and there. It took me about 3 or 4 hours to make this picture of Emma back when I made it. And then I just throw it in and say, here, just make this into she's writing a letter sitting at her desk. And it takes, right now it's taking Kling around 20 minutes to make 1 or 2 generations. So, it's not fast per se. This is another one. I took a picture. I make pictures. This is for a work thing. I make a picture of a bohemian looking woman sitting on a beach with a field of purple around her body, and then I say make a stream of energy coursing up along her spine and extending through the top of her head up into the sky. And these are some of the generations that it makes. I think I can't really do this while I'm also streaming on StreamYard. It's taking up too much bandwidth. But suffice it to say, we can do some pretty rad things with AI. Boom, boom, boom. So these are some other experiments I was doing with, like, what can you do with like ethereal energy circulating, coursing around the body, and beams of energy, so extending up into the sky and things like this. Here is a picture of I fed it pictures of me to see if it can generate pictures of me. It's not done great. It's not great. This is one thing Kling doesn't do very well. Anyways, but I won't bore you guys with all that stuff. So suffice it to say, AI filmmaking stuff is getting pretty good. There's this other one called Runway that I've been getting into a little bit. As a matter of fact, let me log in there. I don't log in there very often. As a matter of fact, I don't remember if I even have a paid account on there right now. But I can get, I do have an account there. Get started. No, just log in with Google. This is me. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. And here, let me pull this up so you guys can see it. Right? I'm telling you, I think people would be totally into this. So I've been working on some series. Runway is not very intuitive, but I've been trying to work on a series of AI videos for our story about.
Ye say that this people is a free people. Behold, I say that they are in bondage. Ye say that this people is a guilty people and fallen people.
So, just kind of cool stuff like that. But one of the things about Runway is that they have these tools where you can talk, and where you can record your own face talking as the character, and then it duplicates, and then you just feed an image of the character and in the scene that you want. And I can just Photoshop that any way I want. And then it just takes your voice and your movements, and it matches up the lip sync to your lips and the expressions to your expressions. And as long as you keep your face more or less looking straight forward, it will make that character emote the way that you emote in the video. And so it's just yet another way that they're doing this. There's also that this has just gotten to a place now where it's like, wow, we can actually for a fraction of the cost of what it used to take to animate or create like cinematic, realistic photo quality cinema. It's now very plausible to do it, and becoming increasingly plausible to do it using AI tools. The other thing, the Hedra, now I think it was Hedra. Am I thinking of that one? The right one here? It's one of the ones I don't use yet. Has this thing where you can tell it, you can take a frame, load it in, and technically with Kling you can do this too. You take a frame of like the desert over here, and like another frame, which is woman in the desert on a motorcycle, and say this is the beginning frame, this is the end frame, and it will and tell it the shot is a shot of the desert, pan to the right, to a woman riding on a motorcycle, and it will create the whole scene. I mean, at this point, it's like this is getting pretty close. That's already a feature you can use. Now you're still going to have some artifacting, some instances where it's going to like add an extra finger onto people's hands, or they're riding the motorcycle, but it doesn't have the intelligence to know that this is how that this is how you throttle and this is how you shift and how things like that. But then sometimes it gets things surprisingly good. It's surprisingly correct when you throw something in there, and it's like it's terrifying a little bit, because it's like, how much does AI understand about how our world actually works? And so so it's very plausible that we could have an experiment where we do a pilot episode of Kirtland and just throw it up on YouTube and say, what do you guys think? Should we, is this worth our investment? Is it worth our time? Would you watch a show about Mormonism in the Ohio era? Because I've got everything I need to get going on it. I think. I mean, what we don't have, I'll finish it in a lickety split minute, in a hot minute. So I think people would be interested in it. I could also make the movie. I have this movie I wrote called Kingdom Business. I wonder if I can still get into it. It's been forever since I got into my account over at Celtex. Oh, for hell's sake. Don't do that. Log in. Yes, it's really me. I haven't been in months. No, it's more. Yeah, I guess it has been months actually. Oh, yeah, sure enough, here it is. Let's see here. Pull this up. So this is Celtex. It's a screenwriting software. And then this is my script, Kingdom Business. Last time I was in here, I had made some edits. Element Assist. Oh, really? They're adding new features to things. They're adding AI features to everything. I don't need AI features in this. But so this is the screenplay for Kingdom Business, which is based on the story of Wild Bill Hickman in his book, Brigham's Destroying Angel. Also combined with the details you'll find in this book, Wild Bill Hickman and the Mormon Frontier, by Hope Hilton. Come to find out some interesting things from my friend Amanda about Hope Hilton. So his kids, his grandkids, they become a bunch of like loony, far out there Mormons. One of them basically started a cult, and I come to find out from my friend Amanda, if I ever knew this, I didn't remember it. Hope Hilton, her mom was this cult leader woman, and she wrote a book exposing her mom, basically exposing her mom, who had like this new age cult. So a pretty interesting story, actually. So like, based on Brigham's Destroying Angel by William Adams Hickman. It's all very, very Western. This is, just like American Primeval, this movie is not 100% true to the history, but it's pretty it's a lot closer than American Primeval, which frankly was far off, you ask me. I mean, they got so much about that, just made me go, what? Come on, you guys, tell it the way it was. It's controversial enough as it is and weird. So, like, okay, I'll just give you guys a little bit of this. Okay, so fade in. Exterior Echo Canyon night, October 15th, 1857. Richard Yates, 55, a mustachioed mountain man, sleeps peacefully with his head propped up on a rock and his black duster draped over him like a blanket. Black duster is all in caps there because it becomes a prop that it's an important prop in the story. Why is that not okay? Why is it still highlighted? Stop it. William Adams Wild Bill Hickman, 42, stands over the sleeping figure of Yates. He is a tall and thick man with an untrimmed bush of a goatee. His eyes shine a surprisingly sweet blue from under the brim of his black bullhide hat. Joseph Young, 23, keeps 3 horses nearby. He carries a double-barreled shotgun propped against his shoulder as he looks up and down Echo Canyon. Hosea Stout, 47, is a terrifying skeleton with haunting eyes sunk deep into his skull and a long bob of black hair. He approaches Bill with an axe in hand. Bill, voiceover. Yes, I knew Richard Yates. Bill stands on Yates' neck. Yates startles awake, pinned against the rock. What? Off! Well, Bill, now you filthy old devil, help! These goddamn Mormons will kill me! Help! Hosea swings the axe and strikes Yates' skull cap open. Bill, an axe knocked his brains out like a can of beans. I had known him for some years at that point and had no dislike for the man, but the prophet wanted him used up, and there was nothing else to say. Bill picks up the duster from Yates' squirming body and puts it on his own frame, inspecting the fit. He feels the lining of the coat and discovers Yates' leather wallet. He pulls out the wallet and counts the $900 in cash in it as Hosea and Joseph watch. Bill, $900, a killer's price, even between brethren. Hosea Stout and I each had several wives to keep fed, but the third member of our party was the prophet's son, Joseph, so we knew the money would have to be tithed. Connor from voiceover. That's Connor, the general of the U.S. Army that's overlooking the outfit, the California volunteers who are looking down on Utah, Salt Lake in the future. And how much did Brigham Young require for tithing? Cut to interior, Fort Douglas, night, December 1871. So anyway, that's the idea. You guys get the idea. So, kingdom business. The thing about kingdom business is that it feels weird to lionize Wild Bill Hickman. On the one side, I love that he betrayed Brigham Young. I love that he is a morally complicated man. It makes it, he has a real John Wayne type of thing. So he does well. He's a real John Wayne character kind of thing. I often bill him as like a Han Solo kind of anti-hero. The truth is that Han Solo never did anything as dirty as this guy. He was a real piece of work. And I don't know that we need more. I don't know that we need a movie making a hero out of even an anti-hero out of somebody like Bill Hickman, because he really was a bastard. But at the same time, makes a great story. Anyway, I love my scripts. It's too bad about those. Some of these other ones, there's a bunch of other ones that are just started in here since we're going on tangents anyway. Robin Hood is a screenplay I wrote. Barely got started on for stop it. Barely got started on, but I've always wanted to make a good story. I've always wanted to make a good movie about Robin Hood. Just going back to like the original tales about Robin Hood. I started making a Supergirl movie script just on thinking I would make something on spec, and then I quit. I quit everything before I did that. And then I've got Kirtland in here. I know that I'm not sharing to all of you guys right now. I closed that window. But yep, I got my episodes of Kirtland in here. What I have finished of them. I basically have the notes for all the episodes, and then actually fleshed out about half of the pilot episode actually written. So it'd be interesting if I ever actually get it done. I do love me. I mean, I do think that Runway probably will be at some point I'll probably switch from Kling to Runway as their tools get better. And they have been putting out some new features lately. They're just remarkable. Hey, Lisa, it's good to see you again. Thanks for showing up. Yeah, it was, I mean, I'm sure that American Primeval, some people really liked it, and at the end of the day, it is entertainment. Joey, have you and I talked about Bare Naked Ladies? Oh my gosh, you guys. I love me some Canadian folk band. And yeah. I how much of this do I admit to? I may have admitted to Molly on our wedding night that I don't know if I'm more in love with BNL or with Stephen Page. And mainly just Stephen Page's voice and his mind. But I think I am in love with Stephen Page and his voice and his mind. He is the poet. He is the poet as the key to my heart. So yeah, it's been a good time lately here. I'm just going, by the way, I'm just catching up on comments I've been neglecting. So I've been in a weird situation lately, friends, because I've been doing better. And you know me, I'm not used to that. I've been doing a lot better. My new medication is working out really well. And I've got back to painting. And I showed this on Sunday and said that I was done with the, and I posted on Monday that I was done with the third painting of my new painting world. That was a lie. I have been working on it every day since. I've just been picking at it. I really need to leave it alone and let it dry, so I'm not just so that I'm ready. My goal is by Friday to have it to be ready to do the final painting on it. It is very wet, but yeah. So this is World. Those of you who don't know, I paint dark shit. The technical term is Gothic surrealism, in the style of my favorite painter and my hero, Zdzisław Beksiński. I'll let you guys in on the secret here. Not, the secrets nobody wanted to know. I had a partner I was talking to late last night who had asked about this. So basically, this up here is a snow globe, and so if you look really closely, you can see, and it'll be more apparent as I flesh it out more, that the snow globe has hardly any water left in it. All the water is poured down the boy's face. It's just got this big hole blasted through it, and you'll be able to see there's like a castle, like a Cinderella's castle type of thing inside the snow globe. It's basically about how, I won't explain it, but yeah. So that's World. And then those of you who were here on Sunday will know that we'll have seen my other painting I've been working on lately as a gift for a partner of mine, which is the fusion of Salamacis with Hermaphroditus. I'm probably going to get started on that tonight. So that's it. That's what we're doing. We're painting. So yeah, this has been fun, you guys. I mean, this has been a good time. How long have we been going? An hour and a half. Should probably go check on the family. But I do love you guys. I wish that I had more episodes of Church for Atheists for you lined up. I have some irons in the fire for another round of interviews that I'll be doing soon, I hope. And some of them may turn out to be high-profile people. I'm not going to say which ones yet. You stumped me on that one, Hyde. So yeah, I guess I'll go check out and see if Sam is done on LDS discussions, and probably catch up on that while I go feed the family. It's great to see you guys, and I hope to see you on Sunday. Take it easy.